It's probably my grandkids, you
I
know.
was thinking 1%.
That's because
11%,
they have
that
no
seems
choice.
way
That's
high
the
to
only
me.
channel that
Yeah.
works.
Let me see if I can find it.
I don't think so.
11%. This is a little high, too. So that's like saying that Trump's got 90% of the
Yeah.
base.
We'll see if it,
Tell me that's right either.
it could have gone up.
Part of that, I would get into Hickey's nuts.
10%, that'd be 1,500 people.
That's cigarettes now. It's a different.
Grab some popcorn or something.
Yeah, and watch the, yeah. No, it's go to sleep.
Give me a healthy
Yeah.
economy.
You know, I
It's a different question
Yeah,
now,
Mike,
so.
yeah, we had law school together. Well, that's what I said to him. I said, you know, it's crazy. I don't like what he's done, you know, to the United States image or in the globe, but you can't beat a lot of the results. It just seems to be happening.
I think all these country club guys were selling us down the street.
Oh, see, it's a good thing you didn't start. The press was here.
Yes.
Sorry.
No.
Oh, you're on time.
Yeah, you're on time. I was just, I don't think there's anybody for.
What did you do? Try to go get something to eat between meetings?
No, I just went back to the office and then lost track of time.
Yeah.
I don't know. I gotta wait for Jeremy. He seems to be the timekeeper. Is it good enough?
You're good.
All right.
Oh.
I do that to make sure everybody's awake on both sides. Approval of the August 13 minutes.
Mr. President, I have read the minutes. If another question or comments, I move to approve.
So moved, seconded.
I'll second.
Thank you, Diane. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes are completed. Unfinished business, Jeremy.
I don't think we have any unfinished business.
Okay. Should we just skip item 4 and move on to other matters? I think this is your show.
It is my show. I for one am enthused, sir. I don't know about my.
You're happy to be here?
I looked at that 21 pages and couldn't put it down. It was just
You told me you fell asleep before the microphone went out.
only afterwards.
Yeah, it's a lot of legal.
Do you think it can get dry?
Get a little dry.
At least it had
So-
pictures.
So, yeah,
They had a few pictures, not a whole lot.
so what you are here tonight to look at and hopefully approve is the Resolution 2018-0901 Plan Commission. What this pertains to is part of the process of amending the Northern TIF District and consolidating the Northern TIF District with the Eastern TIF District. So it's kind of doing two different things at the same time. It's expanding the TIF district, which you have an expansion in here and a description of that expansion, and then you have the consolidation of the northern and the eastern with the expansion, and that legal description and map is also in here. So when it's all said and done, you're going to end up with a northern TIF district that looks like this. It includes all of the original northern TIF district, the portion of the eastern TIF district here, the now annexed Airport Industrial Park, and the airport. So the resolution you're approving is approving the resolution or the declaratory resolution that was approved by the Redevelopment Commission at 4 o'clock today. So the Redevelopment Commission starts the process and the fact that they approve the declaratory resolution. And then it comes before the Plan Commission for your approval, then it goes before the City Council for their approval, and then it goes back to the Redevelopment Commission for a confirmatory resolution. At the same time that we're doing this, the Redevelopment Commission and the Redevelopment Authority approved, which Plan Commission doesn't have any direct approval of, but certainly all part of the same process. They approved a lease format to do a bond issue that would in essence put the sanitary sewer in the now annexed Airport Industrial Park. So this project's been a long time coming. I know as City Council members, we have a couple on the board, and as Redevelopment Commission members, we have a couple on the board. You've seen this project. We've talked about this project for about 2 years now, so it's starting to, this is kind of the final piece of the project before we bid out and go to construction of the actual sanitary sewer itself. But what you're approving tonight is really the amendment and the consolidation of the TIF district to create what will be in the end one larger northern TIF district. Because each TIF district has its own kind of time frame that is set based on when it was approved by the redevelopment commission and the plan commission, the city council, that would hold the same here as well. So the northern TIF district that existed prior will still be on its same life cycle. The eastern TIF district will be on its life cycle, and the TIF expansion area that we're expanding or requesting for that expansion would be on its life cycle too. So there's no added life cycle to any of those TIF districts. They would continue to exist on the same time frame, the same time span that they exist on now until they expire.
So is it only the slice that we're adding that now will go longer?
So actually, that slice and the existing eastern TIF district will be on the same time frame. And the reason being is the statute, as it currently stands, when you create a TIF district, one of two things happens. Its lifespan starts when you do a bond issue. Because since 2012, we've been working towards getting this bond issue to put this sanitary sewer line in. That eastern TIF district's lifespan will start in 2019. And so will the expansion area, because we're doing one bond issue that will basically affect those areas that were recently added, and that life cycle will start at the issue of that bond. So when we issue that bond later this year, that'll start their life cycle.
Did the redevelopment commission spend a lot of time on this? I mean, was this something that really got hashed out a lot?
Yeah, I mean, we've spent better part of a couple of years working well.
Just from my own education, and I mean, were there areas of contention, and so what were they, and, you know, could you just kind of, because I really don't have any background, I'm just kind of, whatever you tell me, I got to believe.
And I can give you a little bit of history. I talked a little bit about that at the redevelopment commission today. So back in 2006, we had some property owners out at the Airport Industrial Park that wanted sanitary sewer. So in 2006, we started looking at how can we get sanitary sewer to this area. There weren't a whole lot of options back then. There wasn't the Eastern TIF district, and the Northern TIF district was kind of in its infancy in terms of the ability to create the kind of funds that it would take to do a $7 million bond. So as we progressed over the last 10 years, we've created some opportunities that have led to this point. So in 2012, we created the Eastern TIF District with the sole intent of creating a revenue stream that we would be able to do a bond issue from to create the revenue and the money to actually build the infrastructure that we needed to service that airport industrial park. So in 2012, the Meyer development triggered the Eastern TIF District. At the time, there's a big hole in the middle of the city, i.e. the airport industrial park. Our intentions all along were to annex that and provide sanitary sewer. Over the last 5 years, based on the revenue of the northern TIF and the eastern TIF, about 2 years ago, we started discussing how do we get this added in, how do we expand the TIF district, and how do we create the bond to put the infrastructure into the ground. So we started meeting to discuss the revenue that it would take to do that, and at the same time, the revenue the northern TIF and the eastern TIF were generating. At that time, there was enough revenue to issue the bond, but the airport industrial park wasn't annexed in, obviously. So we spent the better part of the last year and a half going through that annexation process. It started, I think, in September of last year. If you remember correctly, we started the advertisements, we sent out the mailings. We had 6 public hearings throughout December and January of last year, and that started the initial ordinance presented to the City Council in January of this year, and then cycled through its process, which ended in August of this year. So the annexation officially took effect sometime in August, a couple days in August. And I'll have the day off the top of my head, like August 6th or August 7th, maybe the 8th, somewhere around there, the annexation took effect, which then allowed us to proceed with the next part of the process, which includes this expanding the TIF district and the issuing of the bond so that we can start construction on the infrastructure in 2019.
So the airport is now part of the city?
The airport was always annexed into the city. What wasn't was that industrial park that was in between the airport and US 30.
Okay, what about across the street to the south, Kraus and all those, are they part of the city or are they still part of the county?
Some of them are part of the city now.
They are part of the city.
If you look at what the expansion area is, it gives you a pretty good idea in terms of where that industrial park is and what was brought in. Now, I know this is a little hard to read, but if you look at the gray section, not so much the aerial view because it's a little bit harder to read. If you look at the gray section, so this was the airport, it was already in. We were annexing in this part up here, and all of this right in here, this whole area is what the airport industrial park was brought in. There is a section of it that was left out, mainly due to the fact that grade-wise, to get sanitary sewer there would have been cost prohibitive at this point in time. At a future point in time, as it develops, we'll look at how to get sanitary sewer there. But from the initial standpoint, if they didn't want to be in, it would be cost prohibitive for us to do it at this point, so we left them out of this annexation.
Does the road become an issue, just out of curiosity? That's always been a topic about that airport. I just want to know, is that, those now?
Talking about the road or the airport landing strip?
Well, the airport landing strip, it was going to be expanded, demanding
Right.
that eastern road be changed. And so are those roads now part of the city? And if so, is there something going on there, or is it too early to tell if that's necessary? I mean,
Portions of the road were already a part of the city. Other portions have been recently included, are now a part of the city, and there's still some sections that are not. But that's not the basis for what we're doing here.
That's not the issue. It's strictly getting water and sewer out there?
Sanitary sewer, yeah.
Okay.
A number of those industries out there are either pumping now, or they're extremely limited in what they can do because and when you're processing any kind of water, to have it on a septic system becomes really cost prohibitive. So if you're doing any kind of process that involves wastewater, from a manufacturing standpoint, to have a septic, it's very expensive.
And so all the businesses in that surrounding area, was there much objection?
There was one,
One?
yeah.
But everybody's going to have to hook up to that sewer once it becomes provided?
Yes.
What was the objection? Cost?
It's always going to.
It's hard to say what his specific objection was. I don't think he really wanted to be annexed into the city is what it amounts to.
Okay.
It may not have been as beneficial to him as it is the majority of the property owners out there. He owned a wrecker service, kind of an auto repair service. I think there are certainly some benefits to be annexed into the city, but he obviously didn't see it as beneficial. Now, obviously, if you're processing water, like a Zimmer Biomed or it's former Medcast, not Medcast now, but it's obviously more important to them than it is to an auto
There's 4 or
repair.
5 little sub
Yeah.
businesses out there.
And there's a couple of businesses right now that are operating on tanks because their septics have failed, so they're pumping on a weekly basis.
Is Lincoln City continuously from US 30 all the way up past the airport, for instance, like Zimmer Biomed and that, are they all part of the city now or no?
They are, most of them, yes. If you look at the best way to show that is this. So everything in gray on here is now a part of the city. So if this is,
Which one are you looking at? We got a number of different charts here, and I'm trying to figure out which
It's
one.
on page 11.
it's the
I don't know.
consolidated legal description. So if you go to description of the consolidated area, Exhibit B, and the last,
Page numbers, that's what I'm telling you.
yeah, this doesn't have a page number. It's part of Exhibit B. So if you go to Exhibit B,
It's the page you just turned, right there, that's it.
This is,
Yep.
it's different than his. He doesn't have.
The way his is
That one.
different shading is what the problem is.
Yeah, but he's got a corner thing down here. that Mine does, and his doesn't. Keep going.
Oh.
Closer.
getting warmer.
Okay. And this is, oh, there we go.
So it doesn't show the actual airport on here, but this block right here, where it says Section 29, Section 32, Section 33, Section 33, that block is the airport. That, you can kind of see as US 30 comes through right here. So if you go directly north of US 30, the bulk of that property is now,
Where is Zimmer Biomet? Are they in there too?
Yeah.
Where are they, section 32?
there, Zimmer Biomet sits right here.
Okay,
That would be part of 32, right?
Yeah.
so they're all, okay, that whole business all through there is city now, okay.
So certainly if you have any questions, I can answer them, but that's it in a nutshell.
I have a question on the east side of the airport, or is there still ongoing discussion on lengthening the airport in that direction?
Yeah, and I think that will continue. There are a number of things that have to occur before that happens. One being the lowering of the power line, so until that happens, it wouldn't do any good to reroute the road.
Is that, at one point, there was an awful lot of money from the government that was involved with the decision process on this. Is that still available?
Yeah, it's the same process. That won't change. They're continue to have their conversations with them on the potential funding, but keep in mind that funding covers in every airport across the United States. So you have every airport across the United States fighting for the same pot of money.
Well, that's where I was going with this, is that if nothing's ever lasts forever, if somebody gets enough of it before we do, that could be a process problem.
Yeah, they're constantly ranking, what's the most beneficial. I know that this project, or their project, our project, is in the queue. We've had discussions with them. We'll continue to have discussions with them. I can't give you a time frame of when they may or may not fund that project, but certainly we have the airport has their staff and their consultants working on it, and we'll continue to work on trying to expand that runway and its capabilities.
Is the enthusiasm to do that expansion as high as it today as it was? I don't sense that there's the push that there used to be for that.
I think it's the same. I think maybe, I think they're doing their due diligence, trying to put their best foot forward. So, I mean, while we're not jumping up and down screaming, we're still doing our due diligence, trying to put our best foot forward to make sure that when the time's right, our project is funded.
You're talking about for the sewer now?
No.
That would be the runway expansion.
The runway
Yeah, I'm
expansion.
assuming we're still talking about the
Okay,
runway
yeah.
expansion.
So if you're on that, is there the same amount of corporate air traffic that there used to be? I mean, I think the Pew has gotten rid of their plane, I don't know about Zimmer Biomet, I just wonder if there's that much corporate traffic going in and out of there like there used to be. Everybody kind of got rid of their planes or parked them somewhere else.
Yeah, I honestly don't know. I couldn't answer that question for you. That would be a Nick King question. I believe that it's still one of the more active airports in Indiana in terms of its size. So I still think from a benefit analysis, I think the benefit is there, the impact is there, but you're competing against every airport across the United States, so.
There is an airport authority meeting tomorrow at 5:15, if you're really interested.
I may read your article.
All right, I won't be there, but I'll make sure that the reporter does a good job for you.
I appreciate it.
Well, you kind of asked us a question, if there are any questions. Was there something else you might be looking for?
Nope.
Obviously, we need to approve what's going on, I think is the bottom line here. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so you're looking for approval of specifically,
Resolution 2018-0901, yes.
and that is to do the consolidation of the TIF? district?
In essence, what you are doing is approving a resolution of the City of Warsaw, Indiana Redevelopment Commission. So you're approving what the redevelopment commission approved, yeah.
Does anybody review this at the state level, just out of curiosity, or are we completely autonomous in that regard?
Review in what regards?
Sorry about the TIF application.
Well, I mean, if you do a
consolidation.
TIF, is that strictly our domain, or does the state get involved at all?
The statute is set by the state and the state legislators. But do they approve or deny this? No, they do not. We are
so-
our own approval and
Our
denial.
own process?
Yes.
Okay. And the county isn't involved either, I take it?
No, despite some legislators' attempts, that has not happened yet.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, sir. Thanks for my questions.
Thank you, sir. All right. Is there anything else we should cover, Jeremy, before we put this motion to a vote?
Nope.
All right. With that, don't anybody race.
It's time for the silent Sam's going to jump in.
I'd like to make a motion to accept the City of Warsaw's Redevelopment Commission Resolution Number 2018-0901.
Thank you, sir. Motion so made.
Second
Seconded.
motion.
Second.
Jim Gass, the seconded, as Bill. That's got a double second. All those in favor of the motion as is? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Jeremy, is there anything else that's going to come before the board?
I think that's it. Just while you're here, what's the economic activity for this year as compared to last year in general? How do you think, the city is doing in terms of new building requests, housing developments, that sort of thing?
I think we're pretty, I think we're right where we have been for the last couple of years. I don't think we have more or less than what we've had before. When you look at it from an economic standpoint, you always have those periods of where you have a lot, and then it takes a while to build, and then you have another wave. The last 2 years, we've had a lot of construction requests, and we're still getting construction requests, but there's a lot that's under construction, with potential for 3 hotels to start. One's already under construction, another one will be starting soon, and another one that's be going to the tech review here before shortly. So, a lot of construction is going on now. A lot of construction's finishing up, and we still have a fair amount that's planning.
So you're happy that the economic curve is good?
Yeah, in terms of what we've seen, I think the one thing that we would like more of is housing. And we've been trying to figure out how to get more housing, how to create opportunities for more housing. And that's a lot of what we've worked on this year and what the city council has seen, and a handful of annexations. We're creating opportunities with this annexation and creating developable property for industrial and commercial uses. We're annexing property for residential growth. And then we're incentivizing property in the Northern TIF and our tech park for high-tech industrial growth. So we've positioned ourselves for all the growth that would be available to us. Now it's just a matter of making it happen.
Thank you.
Next motion?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
We stand in adjournment. Thank you.
Where do we send this to? Do we approve it? Just go to development?
No, now it goes to city council.
That everlasting.
And then they
Goes from
send
development to
it,
us.
right, and then we send it back to redevelopment as being approved.
I'm just catching up.
Yeah, I know. These are complicated because they go
Or, I try to read every
a
word.
lot of
that I
checks
get.
and balances.
Yeah.
A lot of work behind that.
All right.
There is.
I see
I
sunshine.
figured any opposition would have already happened, but I thought, well,
Sure. Oh, you do? The real big.
I can tell you what it's called.
yes.
Going to be student activities.
Well, I'll see you next Tuesday.
I'll be there.
All right.
I'll be there.
Trying to get in under the wire.
saying it's
Hoorah! This is good.
related to census.
I didn't know that.
He's already got the minute.
They put up the Godzillas,
In
they
19
paper signs all over the place.
They can still do that.
So there's a kind of a rush, and a couple of tracks.
We've already talked about that. You got that
Goes up
penguin point
north,
guy gonna climb all over you.
The city's been pushing that all along. That's
Don't you remember that when we
There's
did that
already
last time?
developments up there, and we're looking for the sewer expansion. Actually had the consultants not just stop with the industrial park, but to carry it.
Take care of it. Take care of it.
How far could we go? If that need ever, if those requests came in, you're into the subdivision. This is our.
Well, I send it every day.
Physical sewer line was talked about how far we would grow, and the plant expansion. It's out there right now, and that will have that growth potential for flow. All this tied together. It's lots of parts, but it's one big global picture, and all comes from the comprehensive plan. Where do we want to grow?
Yeah.
And the growth potential is northeast. So Jeremy's done a pretty good job of setting up the dominoes to make that happen, and to get all the right players together.
I sure did. That was actually a
salute
great
you for your
game.
I have another meeting that starts at 7. I had
You know,
to,
I'm not a fan or opponent of either one, so it was kind of fun.
What was the outcome? I was waiting for the
Thank you. See you guys.
And it was all him. It was Bob.
Actually, the Bears found the Wiggles.
They snatched the jaws.
I was watching the first time.
boy, I have